Hey, what's up, everybody? It's December 9th, and this is Ben Sigmund calling in from the car. My car is driving me, so I have some time to talk about this Willow quantum computer that Google just came out with and announced, and whether or not this is a threat to Bitcoin encryption, right? So I think that's the question on everyone's mind. Is this Willow quantum computer going to break somehow Bitcoin's encryption? Is Bitcoin going to zero and the Satoshi wallets are gone, right? Because hypothetically, if we can break the encryption of Bitcoin, we could move Satoshi's Bitcoin, which is probably about 1% of all the total Bitcoin, or somewhere around that, and then crash the market because someone will be able to move Bitcoin from any address, hypothetically. Well, the short answer is no. We're nowhere near anyone being able to break ECDSA. So what does that mean? Well, there's two types of cryptography in Bitcoin. There's SHA-256, which is a hashing algorithm that's used by the proof of work miners to find a special number and create blocks. You want more information on that, look up mining. I'll do a video about it in the future to talk about how Bitcoin mining actually works from a computational perspective. But for this video, let's just stay really simple. There's something called SHA-256 that requires millions of qubits to be able to crack using something called Grover's algorithm, right? So there's a guy named Grover. He's a cryptographer. He developed a hypothetical algorithm to being able to break SHA-256, and requires millions of qubits, not 105. So Willow has 105 qubits. Does not have millions of qubits. We are still a ways off from being able to break SHA-256 and be able to to change the mining of Bitcoin, to be able to change blocks, right? Now, the other encryption that Bitcoin uses is ECDSA, which is the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm. Sorry, I got someone. My robot driver doesn't always do great with pedestrians, so I do have to watch the road a little bit. But ECDSA is how the Bitcoin chain signs and it's how it creates public and private keys, and that's how you sign transactions to be able to broadcast them on Bitcoin. So the proof of ownership and the signing of transactions uses ECDSA. And ECDSA it's actually also very hard to crack, and it uses something called Shor's algorithm, which also requires, to break ECDSA, also requires millions of qubits, not 105 qubits. So the short answer is that we are still far away from being able to break Bitcoin's encryption using quantum computers. And I posted about this on my Twitter account, or X, and I'll do some more kind of updates as things move forward. But probably we're still 10 to 15 years away at a minimum, even at the fastest break speed of breakthroughs using AI and new mathematical models and new mathematical systems, new numbering systems, to be able to do these kinds of calculations. Now, that's not to say that the new Willow, it's yelling at me. It's not to say that the new Willow chip computing system from Google is not incredibly groundbreaking. I saw somewhere that it can now do a calculation in 5 minutes that normal supercomputers, not normal, but like the world's fastest non-quantum supercomputer cannot do in something like trillions of years. So it's older than the age of the universe in time. Now they could do that in 5 minutes. But imagine that we still have millions of times more difficult of that it needs to be able to get to. At least hundreds of thousands of times more difficult than that. If not tens of thousands or millions of times more difficult than what it's currently capable of doing to be able to break ECDSA and SHA-256. And that's even considering that ECDSA and SHA-256 don't evolve in Bitcoin in the next 10 to 15 years, which My guess is there will be something like that happens, and it's going to create forks in Bitcoin, which really honestly just creates kind of like a stock split. You think that these things would make Bitcoin less valuable and that the forks that become illegitimate are less valuable, but there seems to be, at least based on historical forks, there's a period where these forks are also worth something. So when the initial split happens, if there's two different types of Bitcoin where the miners and the users don't agree on how to split it, like what happened in the block size wars, we got a bunch of different forks of Bitcoin. There was like Bitcoin Cash, even today, is still one of those forks that exists, has value. Many of the other forks like really went to zero within, I would say, 6 months to a year, but there were periods of time where these things actually end up being worth something. Now, I'm not advocating for those things to be worth anything. There will always be only one Bitcoin that's decided by the majority, but I'm just saying that there's going to be forks to deal with things like post-quantum mathematics, to put in post-quantum cryptography so that quantum computers can't ever break the encryption algorithms used by Bitcoin. So we'll have a new hashing algorithm and a new signature algorithm at some point in the future, in the next 10 to 15 years, I would guess. But whether or not that becomes part of Bitcoin or becomes a new Bitcoin fork, that's kind of up to the votes of everyone who runs nodes and the developers and the miners. And so it's just more advocacy for why you should run a node if you're in Bitcoin. Gives you a voice in these kinds of upgrades when they come up, because you'll be able to choose an upgrade path where you can vote for or against. You can signal support for or signal support against a particular improvement. Anyway, so I think that's super interesting. We've kind of got far off the topic of this cryptography, but I think it's related because basically, just in summary, there is no current threat with Google Willow, and there will one day be a threat. And to circumvent that threat, to be able to deal with it, we will need to upgrade Bitcoin. And if you run a node, you'll be taking part in that. So check out my posts about running nodes. I'm going to do more of them. I'm going to do a video tutorial on how to set up a node coming up soon. And I have this great decision tree that shows you what kind of node to run. Very interesting stuff. So stay tuned, subscribe to my YouTube, and follow me on X for more Bitcoin related wizardry. Talk to you soon.